Both campaigns are on the trail today with former President Donald Trump in Montana and Vice President Kamala Harris in Arizona. Both candidates officially agreed to participate in a debate on September 10th. Yesterday, Trump said he also agreed to 2 additional debates, but the Harris campaign has not commented on those. You see them on your screen September 4th and 25th. Our team of reporters are covering both campaigns. CBS News campaign reporter Jake Rosen is in Montana, where Trump is traveling today. We're going to start, though, with CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez in Arizona ahead of Vice President Harris's event tonight. So, Camilo, what are we expecting to hear from Harris in Arizona, and how big of a role will the border play?
Good afternoon, Lindsay, from this crucial battleground state of Arizona. We expect Vice President Harris to talk about 2 main policy issues during her visit here to the Grand Canyon state. One of them being the economy and economic issues, which of course are top of mind among many American voters in any election, and this one in November is no exception. We also should expect Vice President Harris to talk about the issue of abortion access, which, as you know, has become this motivating and galvanizing force, a very powerful one for Democrats since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022. And abortion access is also actually on track to be on the ballot in November here in Arizona, in addition to the presidential contest. Right now, if courts allow it, a ballot measure that would enshrine abortion access here in Arizona is set to be voted on by voters here in Arizona, in November. And surprisingly, we could also see, Lindsay, the vice president talk about the issue of immigration. Why is this surprising? Well, as you know, Republicans and former President Donald Trump have sought to make immigration and the situation at the border, more specifically, into a defining issue in this election by faulting President Biden and now Vice President Harris for the record levels of illegal crossings there over the past 3 years under their administration. But now Vice President Harris is in some ways trying to flip the script on this issue and try to go on the political offensive on immigration by accusing former President Trump and Republicans of playing politics on this issue by scuttling that bipartisan border security deal earlier this year that would have enacted tougher reforms at the border and restricted asylum. They are alleging, Lindsay, that the only reason that Trump and Republicans rejected that deal was for partisan reasons.
You know, you mentioned crucial battleground state. The Harris campaign says it has 12 coordinated offices in Arizona, 6 more on the way. They say that makes it the most of any Arizona coordinated campaign in history. Why such a presence, and who is she looking to win over?
Well, in order to win this crucial battleground state that President Biden won in 2020 only by 10,000 votes, Lindsay, Harris is trying to galvanize Latino voters, women voters, other minority voters, such as Native American voters, who are absolutely crucial here. The Latino voting bloc actually makes up 25% of the electorate, and it is absolutely key to win them over. And they're very much up for grabs. We have seen former President Donald Trump make some inroads, some significant inroads with Latino voters, and we should expect both campaigns to try to vie and court those voters. It is important to note that just today, LULAC, the oldest and largest Latino civil rights organization in the country, endorsed Vice President Harris for the presidency. That is the first time that this group has ever issued such an endorsement. It has never endorsed a Democrat or a Republican for the presidential nomination. And so this is a big deal. But again, this is very much up for grabs, the Latino vote in this election.
Camilo, in Tempe, Arizona, home of my alma mater, Arizona State. Camilo, thank you. So from the blue skies of Arizona to big sky in Montana, let's go to our Jake Rosen in Bozeman. Jake, what do you expect to hear from Trump tonight?
Hey, Lindsay. Well, thank you for having me on. Obviously, Donald Trump does not need to win Montana come November, but it's a state that he won by over 15%. When he won in 2016 and in 2020. Now, the message here today is to rally around Tim Sheehy, a Senate candidate, and we'll also see Donald Trump try to continue to define Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to a deep red audience.
As part of that definition, he has been questioning Harris's intelligence and competence. Vance has been questioning Walz's military record. Do those attacks only appeal to the base and not bring anyone else in?
Well, we'll certainly have to see how the rest of those criticisms play out, but it's certainly classic Trump as he's trying to figure out how to define a new opponent. The campaign had 4 years to define Joe Biden and his presidency, and we've kind of seen this struggle in the last couple of days to kind of really find what lands with the audience. Now, Donald Trump taking some of those personal attacks and J.D. Vance going on the offensive against Tim Walz are certainly some kind of new nuanced things that they're trying to do, but we'll see whether the public, which has known about things like Walz's military status for years, really on the national level try to give into that.
You mentioned the Senate race. Trump said he was going to places. Trump said yesterday in his press conference he's going to places he doesn't need to go to, Wyoming, Montana, to help others win. Is that true? How vulnerable is this Senate seat?
Well, for Jon Tester, the Democrat of multiple terms here in Montana, he is very vulnerable come this election. He has out-fundraised Sheehy, but some outside groups have come in to kind of help Sheehy get up to the at least financial level. The polls are very close, and Donald Trump has said he would come here, and his gripe with Jon Tester goes all the way back to 2018 when Tester shot down the nomination for the head of the Department of Veterans Affairs for Trump's then White House doctor, Ronnie Jackson. Trump blamed Tester for that and was here 4 times that cycle trying to get someone else elected to replace Tester.
Trump also shared he's going to participate in an interview with Elon Musk. Can you tell us more about that and how's their relationship?
Well, we'll see exactly what format that looks like. I would expect it to be something on X, Elon Musk's platform, or some other public forum where Musk can kind of make a big show out of this. Obviously, we've seen the Trump campaign did a live stream earlier this week with a famous podcaster on a different site. But I think the big thing to remember here is that Elon Musk said he would stay out of the presidential race, would not endorse anyone. He's since endorsed Trump and is at least part of a group of massive Silicon Valley donors who are pivoting their support around Donald Trump come 2024 in the fall.
Jake Rosen, thanks.